Hey, what's up guys, it's Dom from Hole Printing Inc. In today's exciting video, I'm sharing with you guys the top 5 things I wish I knew before starting DTF printing. Now make sure to let us know down in the comments below if you guys are enjoying these videos where I sit down and I speak about my various experiences, and I'll make sure to cover more topics in the near future. Also, before this video starts, I do want to emphasize that we've built a private DTF community. The community has been alive now for almost 2 years, however, we've recently started to grow it. Previously, we wanted to keep the private membership very limited, and that is still the case. However, we want to have a maximum of 100 members. Now, you can find the link to this private DTF community by going down in the description of this video and any previous video I've made and taking a look at the first link, DTF Private Membership. Once you click on that link, you will have more information on what the membership entails, on what the membership has to offer. And from there, if you have any additional questions, make sure to shoot us an email and we'll make sure to answer all of your questions and concerns. This DTF private membership is really something valuable to have in your tool belt as you navigate through the trials and tribulations that DTF printing can provide. This community is a sure way to be connected with experts in DTF printing and sharing not only your experience, but the experience of others as we all grow in this journey. I really wish something like this existed when I started, hence why we provided the service. And again, if ever you have any questions, make sure to comment down below or send us an email and we'll be happy to assist you. Now, before this video starts, let me introduce myself. My name is Dom. I own Hole Printing Inc. I've been in the printing industry for years. I've worked with many big corporations like FedEx and make daily videos on the printing industry. Here are 5 things that I wish I knew before I started my DTF printing journey. I do apologize for my voice. I have a slight cold, but it's getting better day by day. So let's get right into it. Lesson number 1, the importance of consistent pressure and heat. So this is a problem I've been facing recently and all through my DTF journey, but recently I've started to have DTF prints that are peeling off. You can't tell on the camera, but these finer details where it says ink underneath Hole Printing, the dot has actually peeled off after around, I would say, 10 washes in the washer and dryer. And you know, putting a DTF print in the dryer is not always ideal. However, you can still do it if the print has been, you know, cured properly and everything is on point. However, I do discourage all of my clients, even the big corporations, to put anything in the dryer. It's really at their own risk. However, you should still be in the position where you can put DTF prints in the washer once they've been applied. And what I found recently is that obviously there's a bunch of things that can affect the actual quality of your DTF prints. You know, there's the white ink percentage, there's the actual inks and transfer film you're using, the powder, the time and heat of the oven is extremely important, and also the heat press. And that's where I believe most of the problems lie. Yes, curing, white ink percentage, oven time, oven settings, every single thing is very important. However, one of the most important things I found is a reliable heat press. Now for us, we've been using pretty much the same heat press ever since we started. The heat press is incredible, it's very cheap, and it does the job perfectly well. However, recently, the company that we used to buy the heat presses from, they've made a lot of changes, and personally I don't like the newer models, and unfortunately a heat press doesn't last a lifetime. So the first model we ever got, I was in love, and I would have kept that model until the end of my career pretty much. However, as inflation keeps growing and as products become cheaper and cheaper by the second, unfortunately the quality of that brand has drastically decreased. Now we currently still have the same heat presses, however the newer model doesn't compare to the older model, and the problem with this is that the older model is getting quite old, right? The knob where you actually go to increase or decrease the pressure is getting loose, meaning that we set it to a certain pressure to have a firm pressure when we press down. However, recently that knob has been getting loose, so each time we press and we release the heat press, it kind of loosens the knob a little bit, so we always have to re-tight it, and that creates inconsistent pressure. Also, another thing with the heat press getting older is that when you actually put, let's say, 305 degrees Fahrenheit on the heat press is actually only heating to 280. You can see where those problems start to arise. The biggest thing being the heat if there's not enough heat, depending on the specific type of garment you're printing on, it's going to create prints that are going to either crack or peel. And also another big thing is the pressure. If you have inconsistent pressure all throughout the order, it's going to be hard to pinpoint what's really going on. And the newer models, yes, the pressure and the heat is more accurate since it's brand new. However, the actual heat press itself, I don't like it. For a reason, the way it clamps and the way it releases, it kind of distorts the garment, leading to, think about it like this. If let's say I'm printing this logo here and I print it and then I release the heat press and it does this, and then I go to repress, you can guess what happens. The print gets crooked or something of that nature happens, which is really not ideal. So for us here at Hull Printing, the next step is to source a reliable heat press. We're gonna go for a dual platen heat press that is 100% electronic. We're gonna have a temperature gun to actually read if the heat press is giving us accurate measurements when it comes to the heat. And obviously we're going to do some tests in the washer and dryer to see if the pressure is good enough for that type of garment that we're printing on. So even to this day, after being years and years in the printing industry, we still have to upgrade our equipment to have a more reliable heat press, because we thought that these heat press would be the end all be all since they're cheap, and if one breaks we can just replace them. But as the supply chain gets weaker and weaker and the quality starts to diminish, we're gonna have to invest into a more reliable heat press moving forward. So I will keep you guys updated on how that goes. But if ever you see that your DTF prints are peeling off, a good indicator to start off with would be the time of your heat press, the actual heat. Get yourself a temperature gun to actually kind of see what the actual temperature of your heat press is. Make sure the pressure is firm, and if that's not helping you resolve the DTF prints peeling off, it's probably most likely something to do with the printer, where it'd be the ink you're using, the transfer sheets you're using, or the powder, or the actual maintenance of your printer, or maybe it's something to do with the oven speed, oven temperature. Now transitioning to lesson number 2, fabric is more important than you think. Not all fabrics are created equally. So for us here, we've never had a problem with polyester. Knock on wood, whatever the actual polyester garment is, if we have a nice DTF transfer and we press it on there, no matter the heat press settings or the pressure, you know, I was talking to you guys about how the knob was kind of untightening as we were proceeding through production. We didn't have any issues with DTF prints cracking or peeling when on polyester. That's because polyester and DTF prints are like bread and butter. They go together so well, and it's really hard to mess up a polyester print. The only thing you need to worry about is the scorch marks. I made a video on how to fix scorch marks. Make sure to take a look at that video if you haven't already, so you can remove that pesky rectangle that always gets created on polyester. So make sure you adjust your temperature and your heating settings when it comes to printing on different type of garments. So for example, us, when it comes to polyester, we're printing at around 270 to 280 degrees Fahrenheit for around 10 seconds. Some people do it longer, some people do it shorter, higher heat, lower heat. Make some tests and figure out what works for you. I suggest for 50-50 blends, you use anywhere from 290 to 300 degrees for 12 seconds. And for 100% cotton, you can start from 300 going all the way up to 325 for around 15 to 20 seconds on 100% cotton, and you should have no issues. Make sure you take a look at your pressure settings and your heating settings and your time to make your own test and figure out what works best for you. Lesson number 3. I really wish I understood how humidity and temperature plays a huge role in DTF printing. When I started out, I started with the small desktop printers, and recently we've switched to a commercial printer, and the main difference I would say is the humidity and temperature. For us here in Canada, everything is getting a bit colder as we move closer to winter, so we have to up our temperature and control our humidity to make sure that the prints stay vivid, accurate, and they don't start dripping down the DTF transfer. So if your humidity is too high or too low, and if your temperature is too high or too low, you're going to create some inconsistencies in your print, and that can lead to so many problems down the line. So I would suggest that you guys invest into a humidifier or a dehumidifier depending on your climate. Make sure you keep your humidity anywhere from 40 to 60%, and you keep your temperature from 21 degrees to 26 degrees. At least for us, that's what has been working recently. We keep our shop at around 25 degrees Celsius. We also make sure to keep our humidity percentage at around 50%. That's giving us the best results. But again, everything I'm saying in this video really comes down to your own testing, climate, and different factors like that. Make sure you guys invest into proper equipment. A dehumidifier and a humidifier is very useful. Even if you're not using them, you can keep them in storage, and when you need to pull them out, you do so. A cheap thermometer that you can put on top of your printer is going to give you an accurate reading of what's really going on. All right guys, so now transitioning into lesson number 4. Pre-pressing garments is super important. Now for us with DTF printing, we previously had the method of lining up shirts. You guys can take a look at that video if you haven't already. However, making sure that you pre-press your garment is extremely important. Even if you're doing the step that I showed in the previous video that you might have watched on lining up shirts, make sure that you actually go with the mini iron. You apply some heat and pressure on the garment to remove any wrinkle and moisture. This is going to make sure that your DTF prints apply evenly without any moisture, leading to more durable prints in the long run. Now for us, we've recently started to pre-press garments on the heat press and then putting them back on the station to actually be applied with the mini iron. This makes sure that we have perfect placement every single time, but this also makes sure that we remove any moisture and wrinkles that may have built up on the garment over time. So make sure you always pre-press your garments either with a heat press or an iron to remove any humidity and moisture that's built up in the garments. Lesson number 5, never ever underlook your maintenance. DTF maintenance is by far the most important thing in DTF printing. Maintenance on your DTF printer is crucial. If you don't do it every single day, or at least before you start printing, you're on a highway to failure. Make sure you always take care of your machines, your heat presses, and your equipment if you want to have longevity in DTF printing. Your printer especially is the most important tool in your printing shop. If the machine is not calibrated or not maintained properly, you're really asking for trouble. For me, when I started, I did not understand how maintenance was so important. However, after years and years in the DTF printing industry, I never underestimate how important maintenance is. Even with my big commercial DTF printer, I never underestimate how crucial it is for success. Every single day before I start printing, I make sure to shake my white ink container, take a look at the actual calibration of my print heads. I make sure to do a full maintenance cycle of head cleanings, nozzle checks before I even proceed with printing. If something is not looking right, I address the problem right away. Once my prints are done, I make sure to take a look around my oven, make sure there's no dust, no oil, nothing that could cause issues. I take a look at my printer, I clean my heads, I clean underneath the cart of my heads, I clean the capping station. I make sure everything is as perfect as humanly possible, leading to so many less headaches in the future. I can tell you guys, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on those small print heads for the L1800 printer, and I've spent a lot of money also on print heads when it comes to my commercial printer. DTF maintenance is extremely important. Make sure you guys take a good close look at your environment and make sure you take care of it for longevity in your printing shop. So these were the 5 lessons I wish I knew about DTF printing before I even started. But guys, I want you to understand that these lessons are not in any particular order. There's so much more valuable information to cover. Make sure to let us know in the comments so we can make a part 2 and report about more things I wish I knew before I started my journey. If you guys found this video somewhat helpful, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you're new. This was Dom from Hole Printing Inc. Make a print you'll never forget.